A lot of people today at the book signing in the supermarket, and of course many people loved you and they bought your book and you signed it, but other people said to us, we like the guy but we don't know what he stands for. We don't know what he's going to do when he's in power. What do you stand for?
Look, first, I want to produce, innovate in France. That's the very first perspective. We are now in a new perspective, in a new economy of competitiveness, innovation, super talents. So we have to reform the country in order to succeed in such an environment. So what I will do first is to reform our labor market, reform our training system, reform our education system. Okay?
But how can you do all these things if you don't yet have a party if you win, you don't have a party in the assembly that's going to help you pass those laws?
That's exactly the opposite. We do have a party now with more than 180,000 people. I mean twice the Socialist Party, and I will decide in the coming weeks, and I appointed a committee in charge of it to precisely nominate people in order to go to the election. So we will have 577 candidates for our parliament, and we will be in a situation to construct a majority at the parliament.
But they need to win their seats. They need to get in.
But for sure, I do confirm. So you will have a lot of people coming from the Socialist Party, from the Lib Dems, our Lib Dems, I would say, coming from the right, coming from the ecologists and so on, working on the same platform, because what we have now is a platform. But you know, there is this big debate in France about the program or not a program or project and so on. I don't believe at all in a program. Why? Because you describe 200 measures that you will implement if you are elected. Nobody delivers. Why? Because you don't know about the actual situation. You don't know about the upcoming events. You don't know about new circumstances. Nobody, honestly.
But what about principles?
So what I built is first a clear and consistent vision.
Yeah.
We are pro-innovation, pro-education, in order to reduce inequality of chances. We are pro-Europe and pro-French secularism. That's a package.
What about immigration?
That's a package.
What about immigration?
About immigration in France, the program we defend is that first we want to better control it. We are for integration of people, because the key question is not new migration, it's about integration. And as for refugees, which is a totally different question, we want to respect our values, which is to host refugees when they arrive. So that's a very pragmatic approach, what we call the progressist approach, because our people are progressive people coming from the left, the right, and the middle, and civil society. And we build this vision, we build a project. My book is a project. And afterwards, I describe measures by measures in order to be consistent with this project, the details of such a program. So we do have it on labor market, on agriculture and environment and so on. So we are delivering that, and I will catch everything in a nutshell in a few pages at the end of this month.
Okay, your book is called Revolution.
Yeah.
You don't look like a revolutionary. You know, you worked for Rothschild's bank before, you were a financier, you were economics minister, you were briefly a member of the Socialist Party. You're not a revolutionary, are you?
No, but normal people now has to deliver a new revolution, a democratic revolution. I don't claim to be a revolutionary as a French sans-culotte or somebody claiming, yes, and I have to say Mr. Mélenchon as well, you know.
Yeah.
He was a socialist senator when I was a child, so I'm sorry to say that, but nobody is actually somebody in charge of a revolution in this country. That's pure bullshit. But what's important, why I call it revolution? Because we are living a revolution, de facto.
But it's to the right more than to the left, or to the centre. It's certainly not a revolution
we are living
for the centre.
All of us, your country lived a revolution. I mean,
but it headed in the wrong direction as far as you're concerned.
As far as I'm concerned, but my point is that we are in a period of radical changes. When you look at terrorism, migration, digital, environment, it's all about revolution. It's all about big and radical changes. So what you have to do is first to highlight these new situations and to say, people, I don't want to propose you small reforms or tiny reforms.
You want the big stuff.
We need the big stuff in order first to push the country to succeed in such an environment which is radically new. And second, you have to give a chance to anybody. which is extremely
But
important
the
because
revolutionary momentum at the moment, this in the last year, and perhaps also this year, the revolutionary momentum, the insurgent momentum has been on the side of the right. Trump in America.
You're right.
Le Pen, they're doing very well in the polls here. She's still ahead of you in the polls in this country.
You're right.
The AFD in Germany, Brexit.
You're right.
So how will you buck that trend? How will you go against that?
By fighting, by convincing people, by speaking to their intelligence, and by trying to build stronger arguments in order to present and highlight our project. I mean, if you decide to mitigate your project or yourself to become an extremist or sort of an extremist because you do believe that your people now decide for these extremes, you already did. That's the new Munich conference. When some people tries to go in the Front National direction in the French political spectrum, that's a big mistake. That's a big mistake.
If you were
because they always prefer the original to the copy.
If you were president of France, would you try and woo Britain back into the EU? Would you try and persuade them to forget about Brexit?
I will do, but I'm not sure that I'm the best place to do so.
Right.
No, I can try, but I do respect people's vote.
Right.
And I'm not sure that a French guy explaining British people what they have to do is the most efficient thing. I do believe that if you organize general election in the coming month, you can have a big debate in order perhaps to revert the decision. I do prefer such a solution, but I'm humble and lucid. I don't think one sec that a French guy coming to London saying people have the good idea for you, I know what is good for you and I will teach you about that. I mean, it will be inefficient, not to say worse than that. When I look at Barack Obama, he delivered a very powerful message.
It didn't work.
It didn't work at all, and probably it get a negative effect. What I want to do is first, if your government decides to organize a Brexit, I will be pretty tough on it because I think it cannot
be tough on it.
Yes, because we have to preserve the rest of the European Union and not to convey the message that you can decide to leave without any consequence.
So Britain should be punished for its decision?
No, it's not to be punished, but to be consistent with such a decision. You don't get the passport and you don't get access to the single market when you decide to leave.
Yeah.
So it cannot be.
What about the rights of British citizens living in France? I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of British citizens in this country. You would guarantee those rights?
For sure, they were very welcome.
Even if the British government does not guarantee the rights of French citizens in the UK?
The day after, you have bilateral conventions to organize such a movement. So it depends on the bilateral conventions, the day they decide to leave the single market. But if they do decide to implement a Brexit in what Mrs. May proposed, for sure we have first to work at the European level and second to be extremely rigorous about the consequences, because it cannot be a game where they can Britain can maximize their interests without taking into consideration the EU's interests.
Okay.
But second, I do believe that given the context, the fact that now you have increasing doubts about the situation, the fact that those who promoted the Brexit disappeared right after, people can doubt about it. And I do hope that new leaders can come to Great Britain, and my role will be much more to help new leaders to promote an actual pro-European view. And what is very important to me, as well in the French debate, I'm a pro-European, but it's not to abandon the criticism of Europe. I think one of the big mistakes we did during the past years is to consider that the exclusivity of anti-European arguments was on the anti-European side. You have to criticize Europe to make it better, even and almost especially when you do believe in Europe. It was a big
this
mistake.
has been a wake-up call, hasn't it? The last year has been a huge wake-up call for Europe. Trump, Brexit.
Exactly.
So just imagining for a minute that Marine Le Pen is the next president. If she is the next president of France, what happens to the future of Europe?
I mean, if she delivers what she proposed, she will kill the European Union.
She will kill the European Union?
But de facto, because she wants to diverge on immigration, on economy, finance.
She wants a referendum on the euro, but not on the EU. So
no, but de facto,
Brexit
if she wants to implement what she proposes on the European Union, she will leave. She will kill the single market because it's not compatible with the single market. Right. So for sure she will decide to leave. That's the inconsistency of the program. But what you have to do, I mean, my fight, what I want to do, what I want to push is exactly a strong view on Europe, on our reform on labor market, on education against inequalities, precisely to show our people, you have a chance, you have a place in this new society. We have to succeed in this new environment, and Europe is part of the solution.
And you want to see more Europe. You want to see Europe become more united.
I want to see Europe becoming more united,
But not the United States of Europe?
more powerful at 27 tomorrow,
Yeah.
or 28 today, especially on digital and environment. And I want for the Eurozone a much more integrated Eurozone functioning, because we need more integration, we need more investment, we need a new budget stimulus at the Eurozone level. So we need to rearticulate responsibility and solidarity. And today the big problem is that Europe has a very negative policy mix from an economic point
But
of
what
view.
about Schengen? Would you keep Schengen going?
No, I think we have to improve Schengen.
So you would kill Schengen?
No, I don't. Improving something is not to killing it.
Yeah.
I
But would
don't
you
want-
suspend it while you're trying to improve
No,
it?
I don't want to suspend it. I think Schengen is foreign frontiers, okay, and you can intervene whenever you want inside these frontiers in order to protect your people. But it's not national boundaries, which is totally different. So I think Schengen is a good system if you precisely implement an actual and efficient organization to have your own safeguards and policemen at these frontiers. So what I want to do is to increase our efforts to create thousands of jobs of policemen depending on Schengen's area in order to control at these frontiers, and especially Italy and Greece, about arrival of new people. So I want to be very strict on it, but I don't want to kill Schengen, because the day after we will restore national boundaries, which is totally inefficient vis-à-vis migration and terrorist attacks.
Okay, two more questions. There are a lot of rumors on the internet. You know, we know that cyber hackers have intervened in various elections. Are you worried about interference from outside, especially from Russian hackers?
I do, because I do experience these attacks. Every day I have dozens of attacks coming from these countries.
Are
Dozens.
any of them true about your private life?
Sorry?
Are any of the attacks true?
No, nothing was true, but they attacked my website first. So cyber attack coming from Ukraine and Russia. So it exists. Second, they are part of those who conveyed crazy rumors about my life and so on. They claimed that I was homosexual, which is not a shame in itself. But I am married and I love my wife. So honestly, it's not pleasant for my wife and myself. But that's what they want to push. And they interfere.
Why do they want to push that rumor? French society doesn't care about these things that much. Why would they want to do that?
I think because they want to push a message that I'm a liar. I have a double life. That's a motto. That's what they want to push. And they
And you
push.
don't.
No, I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for that. It's not typically a French politician life, but I'm probably not a typical French politician. So I don't have a double life. I'm sorry for that.
But if you look at the cover of Paris Match and various other journals, the picture that you see more often than not is you and your wife, who is famously 24 years older than you. 24 or 25?
24.
24, okay. So can your message, your very nuanced message, go beyond that image? Because that is the image that a lot of ordinary French people have in their mind.
I thought first that you don't choose to get this image. Why are you at the front page of this magazine? Because they sell with this image. I'm lucid.
Does that bother you? Does it bother you?
The day, for sure. But why? Because they sell with you. I mean, it's not a philanthropic approach, or they are not defending my own party. It's just they want to sell their paper. I'm sorry, but that's it. So I don't want to be the victim of such a system. I don't blame it, but
It also makes
I'm
you
fine.
better known, doesn't it?
Yes, for sure. But I think you have different channels.
Yeah.
You are the way to be known by people on this kind of magazines. You have the way to convey your ideas, your principles, your view, which is the best way is definitely a book. And you have the way to convey your ideas on specific topics, your projects. And that's what you can do with media, with radio, with interviews and so on.
What is your headline, your election slogan in one line, apart from En Marche?
France is a chance.
France is a chance. It even rhymes. Thank you very much.